Tonight I wanna see the bright lights over me. Show me something magical, something beautiful. Come and take me higher, set my world on fire tonight, tonight. Show me everything I want and more. You take me right around the world. I'm feeling tonight, got me feeling so right. Yeah.
This week on Top Billing, we join Rolene Strauss for a behind-the-scenes exclusive on the wedding of the year. London Fashion Week takes us rocking back to 80s club attitude. We return to the homes that stole the show as architect Johan Sleer invents the farm townhouse. The new owners of Gary Player's former home mix the quirky with the classic. Jeweler Christopher and his wife Susan GREIG are most at home in their magnificent garden. Enter our competition with Standard Bank for a cash prize just in time for the holidays. Your presenter GDD brings you the show from this tribute to the best of the good life, built by a man who knows how to live it.
Good evening, and it's a fairy tale welcome to Top Billing this evening. After Rolene Strauss became Miss South Africa and Miss World, she then made it a hat-trick by marrying the man of her dreams, Daniel Strauss. Joanne joined the bride as the stars aligned for the biggest day in her life. South Africa.
When she was crowned Miss World 2 years ago, Rolene traveled the globe, raising awareness around children's issues needing serious attention. Having successfully completed her reign, she could return to thoughts of her own life and her wedding to Daniel. We got the exclusive as a year's planning came together the day before the big one.
Rolene, 2015 was already an incredible year for you, but it seems as if 2016 is going to top that with your dream wedding happening. What was your vision in creating that dream wedding?
And 2015 was definitely an amazing year, and I can't even imagine how 2016 will top that, but it actually is. It was so easy to plan my dream wedding because since I was a little girl, I've always known what I wanted. I had this amazing royal wedding in mind, a wedding that is timeless, that is elegant. Everyone was wearing black tie, white flowers, princess fairy tale dress. So that is the vision that I had, and the Aleit group is definitely well on their way to making my dream wedding a reality.
When I look around at the scenery here, I can understand why you chose Lawrenceford as your venue.
Daniel and I were looking at venues, and I just told him this is it. It was just so beautiful, the nature was so perfect that you actually have to do very little outside to make it look good. That was one of the reasons. The other reason is that there are so many places that you can actually use. So we are getting married in front of the manor house, which is very special and sacred for us because it's not used very often. Then the market is in the Laning, we call it in Afrikaans, the Laning. And then we obviously have the reception area, which is Laurent and Lawrenceford, which is amazing. Like a white canvas, you can basically do anything you want in there. So because everything was here, everything was beautiful, and the people were amazing, that is basically why we chose this as our venue.
Admiring the elegant cake with wedding planner Aleit SWANEPOEL, we saw the inscribed words, "For every season there's a time, and a purpose for everything under heaven." And now it was time for a wedding.
Aleit, I know you do spectacular weddings, but this one really is beyond comprehension. How did you go about fulfilling the brief which Rolene gave you?
I saw them just under a year ago. That's when the planning process started. I recall her flying in from Hong Kong, and nobody was allowed to know that she's actually in the country to plan her wedding. So for us working with Rolene, it was working with an overseas bride because she was traveling all over the world doing all these wonderful things for beauty with a purpose. So we had a day and a half where we did food tasting, floral design, looked at all the chairs in the market, all the cutlery, and that's all we needed. The rest happened via email and Skype.
The process from inception of this beautiful ceremony to the actual fruition of everything coming to life like this, that must have been quite a long and lengthy process.
She was the most amazing bride to work with. Intelligent, so organized, and she knew exactly what she wanted, but The great thing about Rolene is that she gave us absolute freedom. She said go mad, but there was one non-negotiable for her, and that was the reception. She wanted her guests to dine in a cocoon of flowers, and I think we perfected her dream, and I cannot wait for her to walk into the reception because I know that's going to be the teary moment and the gooseflesh moment for her.
The formal reception was a floral waterfall with 30 chandeliers floating in wisteria-like blooms. Rolene wanted a forest of flowers, all white, and she got it.
What was your brief in terms of creating this explosive floral fantasy behind you?
Well, from the start, Rolene wanted this magical sky that's just filled with an immensity of white flowers, and that was the brief in short. And then we've taken it from there. Normally you would start on the horizontal plane on the tables, but this time we turned the world literally upside down, and we had to start right up in the roof. We had to do a base, bit of construction to keep everything way up there, with a lovely base of Cape hydrangea. We also had to be quite prepared for the heat, so we could only use 3 types of flowers, which is gladioli, phalaenopsis orchids, and dendrobium. These flowers are all heat resistant, and they give a wonderful, lovely linear look, starting from the top and cascading down in this wonderful waterfall array of flowers, which will tonight hopefully look like lovely stars.
The menu would be a many splendid thing by executive chef GUSTAAF BOSHOFF.
Gustav, you've conceptualized the entire menu, from the street food all the way through to dessert. What will the guests be feasting on?
So what we wanted to do, we started with an international food market. We've got a braai station to resemble South Africa. We've got a sushi and dim sum bar, as both Danielle and Rolene love Eastern food. And then we've got a charcuterie station. And then for those more health conscious, watching their figures, we've got a salad martini bar, which is quite fun.
Dinner would begin with a seafood bisque, a starter of Peking duck, and a smoked salmon dumpling.
After that, we're going on to the more traditional South African fare. We've got a very hearty oxtail stew, which is both the bride and groom's favorite meals, served on samp, which is done in a slightly more sophisticated way. We cook it a lot much like you would cook a risotto, served with some green beans. And then, of course, no good Afrikaans meal is complete without pompoen cookies.
The rings represent a special bond, which kept the couple close in a year where they were often apart.
We all remember you in this beautiful blush pink creation that Casper Bosman did for you for Miss World. But what was your brief to him when it came to creating the perfect wedding dress for you?
The thing that I had in mind when it came to my wedding dress, when it came to my makeup, to my hair, was I want to look like me, but like me on steroids. So, you know, very simple, very clean. If someone sees me, they shouldn't see the dress, they should see me. Daniel loves me natural. He loves me actually without makeup, without hair or anything, so I went very natural. The dress is so simple, but it's still fairy tale-like. It's still royal. It's still princess-like. So I'm so excited to show everyone the dress that Casper designed for me, and I think it's amazing. It goes with my dream since I was a little girl, and I can't wait to wear it.
Speaking of Miss World, we met you as Miss World with this dark crown of hair, and now you're looking like a 1950s screen goddess. What prompted you to change your hair this way?
I definitely had to think about it before I did it. Very drastic change, shorter hair, blonder, golder hair. But the reason why I did it was because this is what I looked like when Daniel met me. I had a little bit of longer hair, but I had blonde, golden hair, and that's how he fell in love with me. I wanted to bring that special element back when I'm walking down the aisle and he sees me exactly the way I was when he first met me.
The estate agreed to the ceremony being held in front of the manor house as a special acknowledgement to how important Rolene is to South Africa.
I really am so excited for some of the special moments at the wedding, which one of them are that my dad and myself will arrive on a horse and carriage. So very royal, very princess-like, also coming together with the vision of the royal wedding.
To this country, she is royalty, a people's princess. Guests at the ceremony were impressed that after the wedding, Rolene will complete her degree in medicine. She'll study in Bloemfontein until she graduates, and from there, the Strauss family will always have a doctor in the house. But first, a feast was to be shared.
Another element is the pre-dinner. So while we are taking couple photos, the guests will be having a market full with food, different kinds of foods and cheeses and meats and everything. Like in the olden days in front of the castles, they have these markets. So they will have the market outside, in between the trees. So it's just going to be so exciting and special, hopefully for the guests as well.
Evening here in Somerset West would usher in the subtle fragrance of the hydrangeas. Then followed aromas of that Eastern meets traditional South African menu, a hit with local and international guests. While the music played, desserts of peppermint crisp and cinnamon sticks did the rounds. All that would be left of the cake was the top fruitcake, which they're saving for the day of their firstborn. Rolene the princess now looked every bit the queen, and long may she reign.
Having witnessed her go from Miss World to Mrs. Strauss, here's to the day we get to call her Dr. Strauss.
Up next, Roxy's at London Fashion Week with African talent defining street style and a return to 80s club glamour.
Half the thrill of being at London Fashion Week is being able to tell your people, I'm at London Fashion Week. As Roxy took in the spring-summer collection by Arfen, her husband Neil got to share in all the excitement thanks to a connection that's really changing the game.
Nowhere is street and high fashion closer than in this home to progressive design. Just as well, Roxy could roam wherever she pleased, documenting the drama and sharing it via her Vodacom travel saver.
The corner of Brewer and Great Windmill Streets in Soho is currently the epicenter of the fashion universe. This is London Fashion Week.
It was on one of these corners that we met blogger and fashion artiste TATJANA APUKHTINA.
TATJANA, you look amazing. Tell me about your outfit for London Fashion Week.
So today I'm wearing a beautiful coat by Charlotte Zimbel and this two-piece by Maria Piankov and this really cute bag by Steven Seville.
I love it. Fashion is not for the faint of heart because I see that you've got a midriff on. Are you not freezing? Because I must admit I'm a little bit cold.
I am a little bit cold. It's kind of, you know, you have to say fashion is a bit of sacrifice.
Exactly.
You have to, if you want to look good, you have to take the pain sometimes.
Exactly.
In the front row at multi-talented set, costume and fashion designer Jasper Conran's show, we met several buyers who'll be carrying statement pieces from his range as inspiration.
Sometimes the runway can be intimidating. How would you say people can translate what they see at fashion weeks into their everyday wardrobes?
Maybe just the inspiration from the pieces, from the fabrics. You might take one piece that is very, very strong and then combine it with an everyday look, for example, with the jeans or, you know, with boots, with like a really simple straight coat. But then you've got this one, maybe like a bit crazy piece that you can still, you know, fit in.
The most fashionable pooch at London Fashion Week. What is this beautiful boy's name?
So this little sausage is called Tui, and he's on Instagram at TheFashioned.
A dashant with an Instagram account. Very cool. Tell me about your outfits because I see you are coordinated.
We have to coordinate, so it's a classic trench coat. I think for Fashion Week, always be comfortable, wear something that you always wear, and it's just something that's on trend but not necessarily out there. And Tui loves his little trench coat. What can I say?
Ladies, you're looking phenomenal. Now I know that you're not here as bloggers, but you are here with the models that we see behind us. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The brand is ATARAXI, and it's #Generation Genderless. We're a gender-neutral brand, and we just want to spread the word about equality in fashion, so we can dress anyone, like anyone's welcome to it. We're not going to segregate. It's all about equality.
And you're a model scout, and you're actually from Zim, which is amazing. Phenomenal. What do you think makes a good model?
Structure, and also that's what I go for anyway. And also I just quite like the classic look. I mean, there is the variation in different agencies and everything, but that's what I go for, structure and a classic look. Okay.
Yeah, which is why we chose to collaborate with Abby, because we love 6 models. We love how they street cast everyone. It's really a vibrant mix. We think it's a good representation of like society.
Impressed by seeing African talent driving British trends, Roxy was managing her roaming through Vodacom's Travel Saver. This gave her the power to share the good news with friends and family by staying connected at great rates.
There's amazing street style fashion outside and phenomenal designer fashion inside. And here's a coincidence for you. It's my 2nd year wedding anniversary coming up soon, and the traditional gift that you give your spouse is the gift of cotton. What better place to find such a gift than the designer showroom at London Fashion Week?
This was like an upmarket designer version of shopping at Camden Town's market. Fashion in Britain has a tradition of accessibility.
I know I was meant to find something for my husband, but instead I found something for myself.
In UK design, style is often inspired by music. The looks for the Arfen collection were a tribute to the band Flock of Seagulls and the late great David Bowie.
KOTA, what was the brief for today's show?
So today's theme was like slightly punk, like early 80s, that new romantic kind of like Blitz kid. So inspired by them.
And how did you execute that punk theme?
We put a lot of gel in towards the front and like lots of hairspray, make it quite spiky. We got like things sticking out and like a pointy fringe, that sort of thing.
So if you're saying that there's lots of gel and hairspray, that means that nobody should go near the models with anything flammable.
Exactly. Stay away. Keep away.
Isa Arfen's inspiration is using clothes as a form of escapism, dressing up and living for today or even tonight. Dutch beauty BENTHE de Vries was loving it.
BENTHE, I'm feeling a little bit short around you, but she is, of course, a gorgeous 6-foot-tall model, so it makes sense. Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm very excited. Not nervous yet, but it's going to be weird when the people come in and you're going to be like, oh, they're looking at me, and I actually have to be natural. So I'm very curious how it's going to work out. It's it's interesting. It's very refreshing as well.
And what do you think of the collection?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely I tried like a lot of things on, and every piece was just amazing. But this one is, I think, the one that I feel most comfortable because I could actually wear it in real life. Not with the makeup, of course, but I mean the clothes in itself. So yeah, I feel very, very good. Yeah.
Donna, what do you think about the latest collection?
I think it's really quite brilliant. It's fantastic what she's done. And also the way it's styled with kind of 80s club kids. Gives it a real attitude and a real strength of character. And there are pieces that you've seen her do in previous collections, but they've kind of evolved and kind of come into their own. So it looks amazing.
How do you think London Fashion Week in particular is a little bit different from others around the world? What is it about this particular fashion week?
The designers are allowed to be a bit more experimental. They're given a bit more time to evolve and really develop their ideas, and they're allowed to be more creative before they become more commercial. So.
Since she began selling through private sales, Italian Serafina Sama and her label have become a celebrity favorite.
Serafina, congratulations on an amazing show here at London Fashion Week. Tell me about the collection.
It's the first time I do a collection, a presentation in London, so I'm really excited, and I wanted to capture the energy, the high energy of London. So I wanted the collection to be fun and energetic and rich, and it's a bit more theatrical than usual.
It definitely is theatrical, it definitely is exciting. Designing the clothes is one side of the equation, the other is the styling. Tell us about the hair and makeup.
The styling, I wanted it to be more theatrical and more flamboyant than usual, so the silhouettes are either very androgynous with a lot of masculine tailoring or overly feminine, so almost exaggerated ruffles and volumes, and the fabrications are rich and opulent and decadent, but the attitude is fun and a little rebellious, I guess.
You grew up surrounded by strong Italian women. How have they inspired your design aesthetic over the years?
Yes, they always inspire my aesthetic, this Italian eccentricity and the idea of having a strong sense of individual style. I like the idea of lots of different women being able to wear my clothes and finding something to wear from the collection.
How do you think your clothing resonates with women around the world? For example, a modern South African woman.
I think so. I think there is something within the collection that can speak to every woman, regardless of age, shape, style. I think there are some pieces which are for the more daring women, but then there's a lot of pieces which can become classics and can be easily incorporated in anybody's wardrobe.
Tradition with attitude. That's how the Brits do it.
Roxy's motto when she headed for London was, "Leave no fashion lover behind," and she was true to her word.
Coming up, architect Johan Sleer perfects the art of country living in town, and Mexican meets Asian in a new take on Blair Athol.
This week, we promised to return to the top-billing homes you fell head over heels for this last year. And our first stop is in Stellenbosch. That's where Renee and Johan Sleer show that if we can't all have a farm in Africa, we can have a farmhouse even in the middle of town.
Johan was inspired by the simple corrugated and stone structures that can be found on many South African farms. His design consists of 4 corrugated shed-like structures linked with stone walls. The living area is expansive and it's a comfortable home for all seasons.
Being an architect yourself, how do you approach the daunting task of designing your own home?
Well, this is the first house that I've designed from scratch for our family. You know, it's got these beautiful mountain views, and that's actually the generator of everything in the design. When we found the property, we knew we wanted to be here.
So the open plan was the obvious choice.
We live very informally, so this space lends itself to that. The space also opens up completely. On a beautiful day, you sit on a veranda, the house is a veranda, and then to close it up again, it's double glazing, and with this fireplace, in winter, it's perfect.
With much of the classic furniture inherited and updated by pairing it with contemporary design, the look is stylish and personal.
So the house is very versatile, lending itself to both summer and winter.
Yes, it's wonderful, especially with this hanging fireplace. We cuddle around it, you know, the dogs, us. Ideal place to have hot chocolate and all those things, you know, the winter things.
Ooh, hot chocolate sounds lovely. I'd love some.
Great.
Built with its back to the Cape winds and with water heated by solar panels, it's just the place to hibernate.
With a kitchen this big, your family must love to entertain.
I'm actually standing in my wife's domain here, so it's a dangerous territory that I'm in here now. We love entertaining. We've got a lovely big table. Wife's the good chef. We've got 3 kids, and it's just a lovely family home.
An architect and an artist, Johan began painting to pay for renovations on their very first house. He tries to hold an exhibition every 2 years and makes time to paint, even taking his easel on holidays.
I noticed every space in this house is covered with artwork, and I see this is the place where it's all made.
Yes, this is my creative space. In the beginning, I specifically decided not to paint anything architectural. I paint the things around us, you know, the flowers, the landscapes, people, things that inspire me, the beauty around us.
What are some of your favorite art pieces in this house?
Definitely the ones that I value most are the ones of my grandfather. He also used to paint, and they're all hanging at the back there. Stuff that he painted in Rotterdam and when they emigrated to Keetmanshoop and that. I've painted them at the back there. That's him sitting there with a needle point work. That's my dad and that's me.
Well, I see inspiration is not far off. This view is incredible.
Yes, no, this is wonderful. You know, this whole window opens up into the valley. And just as spectacular as in my main bedroom.
He calls it a farm townhouse, and it feels like it. With all the original farm-style furniture on the inside and a constant awareness of the surrounding mountains outside.
Wow, this master bedroom is breathtaking. And this high ceiling, it just completes it.
All the bedrooms are in these barn-like boxes, corrugated clad. And all the openings of design that you utilize the views on the mountains. The windows are specially molded against the backdrop. You see the mountain there, that determines the height. That's Stellenbosch mountain over there. And this one is Simonsberg. It overlooks Simonsberg that way. And then on my son's room, it's got a beautiful picture window up the Jonkershoek Kloof.
There's another special place to enjoy the view from the main bedroom.
I noticed you have an outside bath, and it looks like it has my name written all over it.
I love outside bathrooms. We've got an inside one and an outside one, a little bit of an overkill. showering on a day like today, raining with the hot water pouring over you, nothing beats that. And then obviously it's watering our garden as well.
They replaced the old tennis court with this expansive garden, and their pond-like pool is solar heated.
Johan, you would never guess that this house is in the middle of a suburb.
Actually, when you stand here, you get the whole spirit of the place. You've got the veld or the bush coming in. It's natural fynbos grass veld coming in from the nature reserve, and we just wanted the house to float in this landscape. On the other side, it's more cultivated. There we've got a working vegetable garden.
While the couple's children have all left the nest, they still love cooking for and entertaining family and friends.
Well, I'm sure those vegetables make amazing toppings when you're making pizza over there.
We actually use it quite a lot, but we've also got this hearth on the veranda, and that doubles up. It's a fireplace and a braai. That works very well. So in winter evenings, you can sit here around the fire overlooking the veld.
Your family sure knows how to entertain.
Yeah, we love it here.
Johan, thank you so much for showing me your house today. It is so beautiful, and I can really see the love and passion you put into it. And thank you for the hot chocolate. It was so incredible.
Very nice having you here. Only a pleasure.
The Sleers just celebrated 31 years of marriage, and we wish them many more happy years together in their welcoming home.
Renee and Johan's combination plaasdorp pace means having your cake and eating it. Very much like the former home of renowned South African sportsman Gary Player, whose new owners have kept what's classic about it and reimagined it with an eclectic, quirky style.
Blair Athol was home to Gary Player's family for over 20 years. When the current owners bought this house, they gave the designer and the architect a dream brief.
Warren, Korina, I walk in and I immediately feel as if I'm out of Africa.
It's entirely that sort of feeling. It's an amazing property with the most incredible garden. And the reason the client actually bought the house was because they fell in love with this gorgeous oak tree.
Korina, tell me about the architecture and the layout of the home behind you.
The essence of design was one sort of structurally of minimal intervention. We really wanted to keep the look and feel and the essence of the old farmhouse. We really just decluttered internally a little bit, just to allow spaces to open up and flow more freely. And where we intervened, it was really about trying to let nature in and open the house out into this beautiful site.
We have tried to create an interior aesthetic for a client who's otherwise quite quirky and adventurous. So trying to create a real mix of modern and old and contemporary and antiquated. We've used a number of different elements. For example, we have an early 19th century Japanese bronze on an Indian tannery table, and it's a mishmash. I mean, we've got two Philippe Stark chairs, but we've used it with a Victorian rosewood games table. The aesthetic and the feeling of this farmhouse is there's almost a rustic sophistication.
Above the bar area, oxidized copper lamps are shaped like a series of Eastern pagodas, and a centuries-old sculpture stands guard.
So as you can see, Roxy, the client certainly has a great sense of humor and a quirky sense of style. For example, in this dining room, we've used the most beautiful Chinese red dresser in combination with a blue carpet and a Victorian mahogany table, these beautiful Jean-Paul Gaultier chairs, and like even there's a trolley from the old Carlton Hotel to just bring back a little bit of Johannesburg into what would otherwise be considered a very international styled home.
While the bronzed dragons are Chinese, a stroll down the passage transports you into a room that feels as if Mexican artist Frida Kahlo designed it.
Well, Roxy, here you can see why this is one of my favorite places in the house. Here again, we tried to get the nature to come in. We created this internal courtyard. This room is really used as a breakfast nook, a sunroom, and the owner really enjoys baking in her very bright yellow kitchen.
The client really said that she wanted the center of the home to be bright and airy and quirky, and more importantly, fun, to kind of keep this family centered around here. And being in such close proximity, it works as a central space to the family room and television room where the owners and their families spend most of their time. In the family room, you can actually see a smaller example of the same oak that we see outside.
Above the original fireplace is a curio piece by artist Willem Boshoff. The owner's upstairs sanctuary is itself a work of art.
Before we get to the master bedroom, I think I'd like to show you my pride and joy.
This is definitely a bathroom fit for royalty, darling.
Well, thank you so much, Roxy. So what we did was really deconstruct the process of using a bathroom and trying to keep your wet areas separate from the rest of the space without creating a separate room. And it's worked out quite successfully.
And also the position of the bath and the basins pretty much based around the existing windows. These windows form part of the old farmstead facade, which we didn't want to touch. So the layout of the bathroom really followed the existing window structure.
There's an exciting mix of colors in the main bedroom.
What a creative way of using color, and look at that view. I could get used to this.
Oh, Roxy, so could I. We actually reused all these windows and doors that you see here, and the shutters are from the original old farmhouse, which we've relocated and repositioned to open up the view into the bedroom.
We've worked with different elements. I mean, if you have a look, we have Harry and Low Epstein pedestals mixed with 2 balustrades that I strung up to try and use as a headboard, and works quite effectively, and a magnificent selection of art and other things that make it quite comfortable. And I think the most important thing about this space is that it really allows you the freedom to mull around and enjoy the objects that you've spent your time collecting.
For their finale, we stepped out onto the roof, where 20 tons of stone aggregate were laid as part of this garden, rich in grasses, flowering bulbs, and plants that survive the toughest conditions.
Justin, this really is unique, not something you see every day. What were you trying to achieve with the space?
We were trying to make an indigenous roof garden, water-wise, that doesn't require a lot of maintenance. We added a lot of stone and bark chips just to add texture. I think we did a good job.
From a farm once visited by the King of England to a home to Gary Player, and now a creative wonderland for a family of 5, Blair Athol has always been a special place.
There's respect for the history of the place and a fearlessness in taking a leap onwards and upwards into the new. That's why Top Billing loves this house.
Just ahead, it took Christopher and Susan GREIG a decade to restore this famous garden to its former glory.
Perhaps the most popular home we featured this summer was more a story of a garden than a house. Owned by renowned jeweler Christopher and his wife Susan GREIG, this natural wonder took a decade to restore to its former beauty, and it is glorious.
The Beechwood Gardens were first laid out in the 1940s by Joanne Pym, the same landscaper who designed the Oppenheimer's famed Brenthurst Gardens. When Christopher bought the house, he was told this Eden would take 10 years to restore, and it did. But all the work has reaped these rewards.
Christopher, your garden is magnificent. When you walk out here for the first time, it literally takes your breath away.
Thank you. And it complements the house, I think, in that it's a European-style garden. The fact that it's an established wooded garden with forests and a rose garden and water features is very typical of the sort of garden you'd find in Europe.
And what is it about gardening in the first place that you love so much?
I've always been passionate about nature. I've always enjoyed, as a little boy, planting beans and seeing nature sprouting forth. And I've always loved birds, and it's wonderful that I find myself here with my own sanctuary where I can enjoy the things that I love.
I see that we've arrived at the Rose Garden, absolutely beautiful. I'm assuming this was a pivotal part of the garden.
It was, in the sense that when I acquired the property some 15 years ago, my wife Susan had just gone into labour in the nursing home, and she said she would agree to us getting this property unseen on the condition that there was a beautiful rose garden. And it was a major project in that I reconstructed the rose garden completely. It was important that we had an aspect of the garden that was extremely structured and actually quite geometric. It's a sunken rose garden, so it's about 2 meters lower than the rest of the garden, and a central water feature with a tall fountain. Roses that we used are roses that were chosen largely by virtue of their color and the fact that they're all scented. I constructed a colonnade of Doric columns along the one border with arches which I planted up with wisteria, and most importantly, the Eden rose, also known as Pierre de Ronsard, strongly scented. It climbs prolifically. It's a rose that has been awarded with a huge amount of awards globally over the last 20 years.
I think you definitely gave your wife what she wanted, and you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
As we come out of the colonnade, we're approaching a shady area beneath the camphor trees, and the first sculpture that we meet is a bronze sculpture of a young girl who's looking down through the colonnade. And then as we approach the ponds here, we have a sculpture also in bronze of a life-size fish eagle, and then on the other side a great white pelican that is seemingly nesting on a table of peace in the home. The pelican, also in bronze, is by my mother, Italia GREIG.
That looks very inviting. Shall we enjoy the surroundings? Have a quick seat.
This is a great spot, Roxy.
I love it.
Off to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I could spend all day here. I really could.
In this very pond in front of us are about 50 giant-sized indigenous carp.
I don't blame them. I think I'd enjoy living in this pond too. How do you grow a successful garden?
I always think of the old Chinese proverb that says that the most important fertilizer in the garden is the gardener's shadow. And it's all about the love that one puts into the garden rather than fertilizers, which I have to say are a swear word in our garden. We don't use any fertilizers, and for that matter, no insecticides either.
Christopher allows insects to feed on his roses. The birds eat the insects and maintain the ecological balance. It's the kind of setting that was enjoyed by a famous French Impressionist painter.
When you stand next to a pond like this, you can completely understand why Monet was obsessed with water lilies.
When people come and stand right here, it's interesting that everyone makes mention of Monet when they see the water lilies. There's an extensive amount of different varieties of water lilies here, and this is the space that we typically use for photographic sessions for bridal parties.
The garden has a borehole taking care of all water needs. It's accessible by wheelchair, and Christopher often opens up his green wonderland for garden societies to experience.
That is delicious.
As is the huge selection on offer here in the organic vegetable garden, which they developed entirely through specially raised beds. Both Christopher and his wife Susan are vegetarians. He spends a lot of time growing all kinds of vegetables, from seeds to mature plants. And Susan, being an outstanding cook, makes the most of them.
Susan, I loved exploring the garden with Christopher, but I must say, you must be in your element in this vegetable garden. Since you're a vegetarian, do you pick from here all the time?
Every single day. We've got every type of lettuce imaginable, every type of spinach. I mean, we are just having the most unbelievable time with picking. It's so nice to know that it's fresh and organic. If you put energy into something, obviously it's rewarding. And I think you do have to have green fingers, but you can actually even have a little box on your windowsill. You know, it doesn't have to be a big garden like this. It could be a small little potager.
There's even hope for me.
Even hope for you. Should we make a nice summer salad?
Sounds scrumptious.
Here we've got some stunning cos lettuce.
It must be so rewarding, planting your own vegetable garden.
It is, and you know what the best part about it is? That in actual fact, you plant lettuces and 1 month later, you've got the plant. I mean, it's instant grat, which I love. This is the red-veined baby spinach leaves. They are so exquisite, and in a green salad, they add wonderful color.
That's the other thing about making a good salad, is making it look good and dressing it nicely.
Look, I think the most important part of a salad, other than the ingredients, obviously, is the dressing.
Life is too short.
Life's too short for an undressed salad.
This looks amazing. so artistic. Well, thank you so much for having us today in your
thank
veggie
you.
garden.
Thank you for coming. I love sharing it with everybody.
Let's enjoy.
This couple do enjoy every day. They're growing a range of new fig varieties, and their garden is now the subject of a master's thesis. The story of this wonder of nature continues to grow.
To win your own personal experience in this national of a treasure of a home, check out our social media pages right after the show.
Next up, how to get the best sea view and keep it. Plus, you could win some Easter holiday spending money from Standard Bank.
Now, the best of the good life means different things to different people. The businessman who owns this lap of luxury lives for adventure, friendship, cars, parties, and time in New York. But if anything is going to call him home, it's this house.
He's single, drives a sports car, and his many splendid career in everything from IT to property finds the man known as FD to his friends living here. His house sums up the character of someone in love with adrenaline sports. He's a former skydiver who, when he isn't flying around the world, lives in a place where you feel your feet will barely touch the ground.
Wow, this is something I could get used to. What an incredible view. You have the prime location.
Oh, thanks. It's come out nicely. There was an old house here that when I started looking at buying a place in Cape Town, old smaller house here, this was actually the roof. And once I came and looked at it and I got on the roof and saw this, you've got green belt around you, you've got the school in front and basically almost 300 degrees of either ocean or forest or mountain views. And fell in love with it there and then. And from there the project began. I had to get the architects and the teams involved. But today it's one of those things that I can look back at and say, most things in life you always dream of a 10 out of 10 and get 8 out of 10, but this was probably the other way around. It exceeded what I expected.
With the school in front of you, it's such a bonus that no one can obstruct your view.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason of buying the old site was, in the summer, lying out here, watching the whales jump, in the summer months is quite special. I'm a big lover of nature, so for me it just doesn't get any better.
With a home like this, you must want to share it with others.
Yes, I do. Especially in the summer, the sun's out here, we lie on the deck, the pool's here, the bar, which is my favorite place. The fire pits in the evenings we can put on and sit and drink a bit of wine. Yeah, I get a lot of fun out of entertaining people, no doubt.
What was your vision when you decided to build this luxury home?
I wanted something timeless that could last, but epic at the same time. If you go through the house, you'll see there's a fair amount of art in the house. I love art, I collect art over time. But even the house itself is architecturally, in my mind, quite artistically done, which, very much fits in with my personality and what I love about the place.
Interpreting FD's multifaceted character in a building was a challenge taken up by architects Tamarin Fourie and THAABE RAMABINA.
How did the two of you approach FD's brief?
Well, it was a fairly challenging site with the longest boundary being on a relatively busy road. And naturally we needed to maximize the views. So we elevated the main living and what became known as the ground floor to the previous level of the existing house. And then we fractured the structure to allow the north light to penetrate through onto the external terrace area.
Automated blinds on the floor-to-ceiling glass ensure the glare is never overpowering. The contemporary design still makes room for a sun-kissed mini garden and lounger, whilst an ingenious technique brings natural warmth to the concrete structure.
The wall, it looks like wood, but it's actually concrete, right?
Yes, funny you should mention that. We used natural timber paneling and we lined the shuttering prior to pouring the concrete. And once the concrete had cured and we removed the shuttering, we were left with this beautiful textured finish, which we've used as a theme and taken it throughout the house in all the concrete work, both externally and internally.
It's quite high up here.
Yes, that's the entrance level, which is at the lowest level of the house. The monolithic staircase, which winds its way up to the highest level. It has wonderful safety glass balustrades. And if you don't feel like taking the stairs, you can always use the lift.
If you're lucky enough to be a guest, then you get to luxuriate in one of these ocean view suites, which even most 6-star hotels couldn't match.
Well, this is one of the many ensuite bedrooms, and what we particularly like about this room is the incorporation of mirrors on either side of the headboard, which reflect the natural Atlantic seaboard and the mountains beyond to really give a sense of a 360-degree view.
Off every guest's dressing room lies a bathroom, where you bathe as much in sunlight as you do in water. And then there's FD's personal space.
Well, welcome to the master bedroom.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, we had a lot of fun in this area. We chose to centrally position the bed so that one could really experience expansive views. And the shape of the bed picks up the bulkhead above. And in the corner, we've incorporated a fireplace with a customized Core-10 flue to warm up those winter nights. The house is also fully automated, with each room having its own tablet to control various elements such as the blinds, the curtains, the retractable TV, the fireplace, and of course the lights.
For THAABE RAMABINA, it's about constantly finding new ways to excite the imagination.
So Jade, one of the unique features about this house is this glass floor. Light comes from the roof, allowing light all the way down to the terrace, and sometimes could even spy on your guests.
Well, thank goodness no one's down there at the moment, otherwise they'd be spying on me. I couldn't help noticing that suspended bed. I think I could just lie there forever.
Is there any better way to enjoy a gorgeous sunset?
Once a year, our host invites 400 guests to party here, and you'll find him behind his weathered copper bar with its laser-cut aluminium back screen.
FD, it feels like I've walked into a Manhattan cocktail lounge.
Oh, thank you. That was the idea when we designed this copper bar. New York's a special place to me, so sort of tried to create a Manhattan sort of cocktail lounge feeling, you know, with a view.
Well, cheers to your brilliant minds and what you created.
Thank you.
Whichever partner FD chooses to change his FB status from single to in a relationship will need to be rather special.
We meet very successful people from every sphere on our show, all of whom got where they are through hard work and every now and then a little good fortune. If you could do with a little bit of that, then now is your chance to win with Standard Bank and Top Billing.
We have a 2,000 Rand cash prize to give away courtesy of Standard Bank, just in time for the holiday weekend. To stand a chance of winning, SMS the keyword forward followed by your name and city to 33727. That's 33727. SMSs are charged at R1. T's and C's apply and can be found at topbilling.com. The competition closes at midnight on Wednesday, the 9th of March. Standard Bank, moving you forward.
Gardens, travel, weddings, fashion, and always another way that someone is living the best of the good life. That's Top Billing, and don't forget that you could win yourself a slice of it in our competition with Standard Bank. Good night, South Africa, and God bless.
Next week, our leading man, Jonathan Boynton Lee, shares how his dream life became his real life on Top Billing. He's interviewed Hollywood's A-list, triumphed on Strictly Come Dancing. He's been voted SA's favorite, best dressed and sexiest, melted the heart of Miss America, won the heart of Jay Anstey, and now his film career is flying. Catch the full story on next Thursday's show.